Eagles legend Jason Kelce gave some huge praise to the Birds' newest center on WIP radio, and he believes that he could actually end up better than he was. Also, Nick Sirianni talks about the benching of Devin White and what the Birds need to do on Monday night to reduce the sloppiness. And wait till you hear Dan Orlovsky's bold take about what Saquon Barkley can do for the Philadelphia Eagles this season. Welcome on into A to Z Philly. I'm RB. Be sure to subscribe and like our show if you enjoy the content. We must start off with Kellen Moore. Obviously, as you know, I believe that he drew up a masterful game plan. I think it's only going to continue moving forward. This team finally has an offensive coordinator. And Kellen Moore said that the 2 interceptions from the season opening win against the Packers were also on him. Says he should not have been as aggressive with his play calls. Quote, sometimes with those, we call a particular play that has some opportunity to earn the first down. And at the same time, there are some situations where any completion is good. We'll make the decision as far as 4th down, whether it's a kicking opportunity or a go for it opportunity. Those situations, sometimes those play out differently. Just communicating, though, how we want to handle those circumstances. Quote, I think sometimes the first game we had 2 third and extra long opportunities where you practice some of those during training camp, and I think we got a little aggressive myself. Play calling also ultimately just the throw, but not overly concerned. They are outliers in many cases. Do I agree 100% with Kellen Moore that it was on the play calling? Absolutely not. Matter of fact, I don't even think it was his fault. Sure, they could have called a run play in the early one, or, they could have drew something else up to try to run the clock, but Jalen Hurts has to be better. He has to have better decision-making, better instincts, and he cannot force the throw like that. It is on Jalen Hurts, but you know what? I really like that Kellen Moore is sticking up for his quarterback and is kind of putting him under the wing, trying to shed some of that blame away. So that speaks volumes about Kellen Moore, and I think it already boosts the chemistry of this team. And speaking of the chemistry of this team, one Eagles legend, one guy that is obviously known for all the chemistry in the locker room and keeping these guys together for his entire career, Jason Kelce, had some huge praise for the Eagles' newest center, Cam Jurgens, on WIP radio today. He says, quote, he's going to continually get compared to me, which I don't think is fair for him. And then eventually, when everybody realizes he's fantastic and a great player, I'll have to live with the fact that there's a guy that's better than me. First off, I love Jason Kelce. He's just an absolute stud, and, he's a great personality, right? He's got the podcast, all that in the third, which he was still playing. But he's right. Jason Kelce didn't have the hottest start of his career in Philadelphia. He wasn't a Pro Bowler year one. I think it takes time for these guys to nurture. And I think Cam Jurgens is coming along real nice. Sure, they had a couple communication errors in week 1, but Jurgens has even showed in recent years, even in the preseason, that he has the ability, the potential to be a really good offensive lineman for this team. Plus, he's nurtured and mentored by Jason Kelce, who, like he said, has a lot of potential. Kelce wasn't always the biggest, strongest guy, whereas Jurgens, just from a natural ability, has more skills and more tools to use to his advantage. So I do agree that Cam Jurgens is going to be just fine, and I just love the fact here that Kelce has his back, and I agree that we can't really compare Jurgens to Kelce because Kelce is one of the best to ever do it at the position. Also, Jason Kelce talked about the atmosphere of this upcoming Week 2 appearance on ESPN's Monday Night Countdown. He was on it a few days ago for his debut. He did a wonderful job. Obviously wish he was still on the field, but he will be in the booth or at the table, and he says the atmosphere has, quote, the potential to be really raucous. Ladies and gentlemen, the Philadelphia Eagles fan base, once they see Jason Kelce out there, are going to absolutely lose their minds. They're going to go insane. We might even get some Kelce chants. Jason Kelce also backed up Mekhi Becton, saying that he did, quote, really, really well for his first game at offensive guard. He's a big guy. He moves people. I saw a surface that was not conducive to driving people, talking about the crappy field conditions, and he was still able to do it. As we said, Mekhi Becton, one of the best graded offensive guards in the game in week 1. And he is a part of Stoutland University. He's only going to get better and better and fit right in. PFF ranked the Eagles' offensive line as the second best graded O-line in the NFL entering week 2. And again, they did a great job protecting Jalen Hurts. They're going to have to continue to be good, communicate well, and not draw a lot of penalties. But overall, they still have some really good leaders on that offensive line, starting with Lane Johnson. And they're going to have to be really good against the Falcons, who were able to get to Justin Fields. I know he still went 17 for 23, but the Steelers were not able to accumulate one offensive touchdown. They won via 6 field goals. They did not really have much life at all on offense, and that's because the Falcons did a splendid job. They have a couple guys that can really get to the quarterback on that defensive line, and it'll be a test for this Eagles O-line for sure. They also have Matt Judon, who is a great late offseason addition who can man the middle of the field. And then they have Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons in the secondary, along with A.J. Terrell, who they just paid a 4-year, $81 million contract extension to. So the Falcons are loaded on defense. This is going to be a real challenge for the Eagles to hold up. Also, speaking on yesterday, Haason Reddick situation will continue to boil, and Jeremy Fowler of ESPN says that multiple league execs believe the Jets will eventually have to flip Haason Reddick via trade as the contract impasse has no end in sight. Quote, not sure that they have a choice. Yeah, like I said, Haason Reddick is done in New York. He is not playing. He is given up on that hope and dream, even though it's not really hope and dream. It's just more of like a task that you have to do. Haason Reddick's not going back. Howie, go get him. And Nick Sirianni talked today about the Eagles defense, most specifically about Devin White. Again, being a guy coming off a down year, looking for that next long-term contract, signing a 1-year deal here in Philadelphia, even going on podcasts thinking like he's going to be the guy. And then you get a reality check in training camp. You get beat out by Nakobe Dean and Zack Baun. And while in the process of recording this video, Devin White actually just spoke to the media about his benching. He opened up. Devin White was asked if, after taking basically all the first team reps in camp, if he was surprised that Nakobe was named the starting linebacker. Quote, you could truly say that the way the snap count went, the things I did on the field in the preseason, but at the end of the day, it's not my call. He went on to talk about in this video just being a good teammate, a good leader, and trying to rewrite his career, rewrite his story, and just being ready to go no matter what. So it's good to see him in a good mindset and still being willing to help out the team. Also, Nick Sirianni talked about the Eagles being the only team in week 1 that won despite losing the turnover battle. Jalen Hurts again has to make better decisions. Eagles have to take care of the ball. But Nick definitely says that winning that way is not sustainable, and I 100% agree. This cannot be a 2023 Eagles thing where they go and they sneak out wins and they beat bad teams barely, and we're not even happy when they win. They need to go out here, make a statement in week 2, and dominate. And this is the perfect opponent to do it against. Kirk Cousins will not show up in primetime. He will not show up in the bright lights as long as you get in his face. Speaking of getting in his face, Zack Baun was the top leading tackler in the NFL in week 1, and he was tied with, guess who? The Eagles' former friend TJ Edwards, their former undrafted linebacker who made a lot of money over there in Chicago. Still wish he was a part of the squad. Did a wonderful job, but TJ Edwards, Zack Baun holding it down. And again, we're going to look at Zack Baun now, right? Now he's a guy. Now he's a piece. I mean, still, we had some expectations for Zack Baun. Nobody would have imagined, based on what he looked like in camp, that he was going to come out the way he did. They thought he would be good, but he was elite. Zack Baun needs to be a leader and help take over this defense, and I'm going to look for him in week 2 to be very active yet again. And then Dan Orlovsky on ESPN today had a huge, bold prediction. He said that Saquon Barkley is the missing piece that will get the Eagles back to the Super Bowl. We've already emphasized it enough, right? Time to move on to the next week. Saquon had an incredible debut, 3 touchdowns, all you could ask for, literally a dream. But when you look at the Atlanta Falcons, they did not allow much at all in the air, only 133 yards in week 1. But on the ground, they got ran all over, 137 yards. The Steelers had more rushing yards than they did passing yards. This will be a huge opportunity for Saquon Barkley to build upon what he did in week 1. And if he can come out, and maybe he doesn't need as many touches, right? You want to make sure that you can keep him healthy and take care of that body in the long term. But he is still your primary back. He's still your guy. And right now, he's the #1 reliable weapon on this offense. And if he can go out and put it in the end zone again this week and rack up 100 yards and make another statement, I mean, there's nothing left to say. Saquon Barkley, we know is the guy, but he's going to show everybody that was not a fluke. And on the other side, the Eagles will have a task in stopping Bijan Robinson. Nick Sirianni gave a lot of praise to him today, and I think it will be maybe a battle of the backs. But there will be plays where Jalen Hurts and Kirk Cousins both have to go out there and win the game, and I'm putting my money in Jalen Hurts all day, every day. Also, a quick injury update on Isaiah Rodgers, who spoke to the media. He says that he fractured his hand in practice, which is why he did not play. A player was trying to punch the ball out of his hands, and it hit his hand. Good news. It sounds like he plans on playing Monday versus the Falcons. Shout out to Isaiah Rodgers. Seems like his job is going to be on the outside, and he's going to start. with moving Quinyon Mitchell back to the nickel. Regardless, Quinyon looked great. But that's all I got. Give me your thoughts down below. Eagle Nation, what is the temperature? What's the vibe? How do you feel heading into week 2? Give me your thoughts down below. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That being said, I'll catch you on the next one.
On BetMGM Casino, there are so many jackpots that you never know when one will go. So many jackpots. So many jackpots. BetMGM Casino. Jackpots. So many.
Download to get a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus $25 on the house. BetMGM Casino.